Dr. Charles Leale, an Army surgeon, was the first physician who got to the president. Lincoln slumped in his chair, looked like he had fallen asleep during the play. He looked uninjured. The doctor had the president laid on the floor. He stripped off his coat and started feeling all around. He thought Lincoln had been stabbed because he saw Booth on stage with that bloody dagger and thought the president was cut with the knife. Then he found the wound, the bullet hole through the head into the brain. Mary Lincoln said, "Oh, doctor, can he recover?" And Dr. Leale said, "No, the wound is mortal. It's impossible for him to recover." At that point, they had to decide what to do with the president. The doctor thought the president of the United States can't be allowed to die lying on the floor of a box in a theater. It was Good Friday. Later ministers would even criticize Lincoln for being in a play on Good Friday evening. George Alfred Townsend, the great Civil War reporter, said, "And there, on the floor of a theater, lay the sacred ruler of millions, dabbling with his sacred blood, the robes of an actress in the pent-up closet of a playhouse." They wanted to get Lincoln out of Ford's Theater. Dr. Leale ordered men to pick up the president and carry him down that semicircular staircase. And then they took him outside. Dr. Leale couldn't believe what he saw. Already several hundred people gathered in the street, blocking his passage. People cried out, "For God's sake, take him home to the White House to die." His carriage was waiting to take him home. But the streets were muddy, rutted. The doctor thought that that rough ride would kill Lincoln before he could be taken to the White House. So an officer came forward and said, "Surgeon, give me your commands and I'll see that they are obeyed." And he stood in front of Dr. Leale and used his sword to clear a path through the crowd. And Leale said, "Take us into that house across the street." The door was locked. So there was the president in the middle of 10th Street, dying, being carried by men who didn't know where to go. Then a man here in the Peterson house heard the commotion, and he opened the front door and held a candle and said, "Bring him in here. Bring him in here." So Dr. Leale ordered the entourage, "Go into that house." So the president was carried up the steps of the Peterson house. And that's the last time Americans, except for the Lincoln family and his official political family, ever saw Abraham Lincoln alive again when he was carried up the steps of this house on the night of April 14th.